Good Morning Kenya gets to continue. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Vivian Degwa, and right now we get into another segment right here on Good Morning Kenya, and our topic of conversation is really significant. We're talking about opportunities for young Kenyans to study abroad, and specifically we will be talking about going to study in the European Union. And I will get to introduce my guests, beginning with my immediate left. We have Irina Matthews. She is the Director, International Student Fairs Africa. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on board. And then on my far end, we have Her Excellency Henriette Geiger. She is the European Union Ambassador to Kenya. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure to have the both of you here to speak about the opportunities that young Kenyans have, or the Kenyans who would love to pursue an education outside Kenya and the EU, to be specific. Maybe if we can just begin by looking at the best, opportunities. When looking at the best opportunities, rather, to study abroad, what exactly should one look out for? Where should one start? I'm thinking of going to study abroad. Where should I begin looking at things?
I would say research. Do your research first, and start obviously from the country you're interested in, and obviously the program you're interested in. Come to one of the international education fairs like ourselves. Send an email directly to the international recruitment office or admissions office. This is your first step, I would say.
So just start by doing your due diligence.
Exactly.
Just do your research.
Yes.
Send emails if you need to.
Exactly. Taking an action. Yeah, because if you don't research, don't do anything, nothing will happen, as we know.
Absolutely. For sure. All right, now to the ambassador. Kenya and the EU have had ties, for the longest time. They've had really strong and long-standing partnership and ties, especially when we talk about matters trade and, economic, just the economic opportunities that are out there, between the ties between the two countries. How does it look like when we talk about now the ties, education-wise? Do we have any?
Already the fact that you ask whether there are any is already highlighting the issue we have. Because in Kenya, for many, many years, everybody was just focusing on the US and the UK. And for obvious reasons, of course, the language, English. But I would like to say that nowadays in Europe, most of the programs are in English, fully in English. So it's no longer an impediment that you have to learn another language to study in one of the 27 member states of the European Union. And we have been collaborating for many years with Kenya, also with our very good scholarship program, Erasmus+, where graduate students for masters, they can get full scholarships. And what is very little known here in Kenya is that the EU has granted 100,000 scholarships to the African Union for African countries, full scholarships, and they are not being utilized.
Okay.
It's a sin, a sin, a sin. And here in Kenya, I'm trying my best to drum support, to make sure that people know about that opportunity, because I think Kenya has so much talent. When I go to universities, even up country, I see they have 10,000 graduates per year. Then I think there's so much potential here, and so few people know about the opportunities. So you can consider, of course, to pay for university studies, and most European universities are much, much cheaper than, for example, the ones in the US or even the UK. But in certain countries, it's completely free. Germany, Austria, other countries, you don't pay a penny for tuition. So there's so many opportunities, and we have been collaborating for years, but still we are not at the level where we should be given the talent here.
All right, I'll ask you to just hold that thought. We'll get to understand some of these opportunities and how to get these scholarships. As you mentioned, there are so many, more than 100,000. So we'll definitely get into that. But right now, I want us to head direct to Maua, where our reporter Abdiaziz Hashim is on standby. Remember, the president is on a 5-day tour. To the Mount Kenya region, and our reporter is right there. As you can see him, he's on location, and if we can just head over to him and get to find out. Hashim, good morning, and what is happening right now where you're at?
Well, good morning to you, to Vivian. And of course, you currently know that we're in Maua, Meru County. You know, it is a cold area, especially during this particular time when the rains are coming in, especially with the weatherman clearly stating that this particular area, which is highlands of the Mount Kenya region, will be receiving heavy rains. But not just like that, because you see the sun is out right now. And talking about opportunities, behind me, Vivian, if you can see, it will be the new Huduma Center here for Maua. You do know that the people of Maua for a number of years have been trekking distances, as well as for close to 45-50 minutes or so thereabout to reach Meru town, the town center itself, so that they can get services from the Huduma Center. There are a number of services that Huduma is able to offer. Now, the CEO, as well as the Huduma officials, and we're going to be joined also by high-ranking government officials and leaders from this particular region to help the president in laying the stone here in Huduma Center. This will be his first stop here in Igembe South before he heads over to other parts of Meru County. As and when he finishes to laying stone here in Igembe South, he'll be heading over still in Igembe South, he'll be laying the foundation also in a sewerage last mile connectivity project that is within Maua. After he finishes that particular venture, he'll be heading over to Tigania West constituency, Vivian, where he'll also visiting the Kibera feedlot, where he'll also after that visit the South Immense constituency of the Nkwene 33/11 kilovolts of a substation. Now, of course, that is the itinerary for here in Meru County. Also, he'll be linking up with the residents of Kirinyaga County. He'll be making 2 stops. If you have noticed yesterday, he was in Laikipia and in Nyeri County, traversing the 2 counties because they're closer to each other, launching several key projects like the last mile connectivity, the affordable housing project, and the new modern markets that the president has been vowing to launch in this particular area. You do know that there are 87 markets that are currently being built. Others are ready to be occupied by the traders in this particular region. Also, the president will be flanked by also the new governor. You remember, Vivian, it was just 2 weeks ago when the new governor was sworn in. That is Isaac Mutuma. We are sure that he will be flanking the president. You do know, even in the meeting that was held at State House Nairobi, he was among the governors from this particular region that met President William Ruto at State House Nairobi in readiness for this particular trip. Also, a section of members of parliament as well as senators. You do know that that is a recipe for political rhetoric. At the end of the day, we'll be witnessing what they will be telling the residents. In Laikipia County and Nyeri County, you heard what the president clearly said yesterday, that despite one person being removed from the current administration, the government is still big and people can still come into that particular administration. But he clearly told the residents to give deaf ear to politicians who are spewing divisive politics to the region. You do know that it has been heightened political tension with this particular region, but you saw what happened yesterday. Once the president arrived in Laikipia, in Nyeri, there was relative calm. The people turned out in large numbers. They were listening to some of the key projects the president was commissioning, inspecting, and even promising at the end of the day. You do know that the major project that is being carried out here in the Mount Kenya region is the Mau Mau Road that will be linking almost 5 to 6 counties within the Mount Kenya region, so that it can boost transportation, especially given that we have tea, coffee, as well as miraa here in this particular region. And also the president was talking about the Mirror and what he'll do for the farmers here. In an interview with the radio presenters at the Sagana State Lodge, he clearly stated that he will ensure that their produce is not only distributed within the country but even beyond our borders. But Vivian will be keeping tabs with the president. He'll be starting here in Maua, launching 2 projects. After that, he'll be heading over to a market still within Maua, and then he will head over to Tigania West, where of course we'll be following him to just keep you updated. As and when the president arrives, we'll be taking you live. So back to you, Vivian.
Thank you so much, Hashim, for just filling us in on what to be expected today in Maua Mary, and for giving us a breakdown of the president's itinerary as he continues his 5-day development tour in the Mount Kenya region. We'll definitely be keeping tabs on that. Keep it KBC Channel 1. Let's head back to our conversation. We're talking about opportunities for young Kenyans to study abroad. And just to you, Irina, you know, you are the director of the International Student Fairs Africa. First of all, just to get to know what exactly prompted you to start this initiative or program.
So we started in 2012 because we saw a gap in knowledge and information about study abroad opportunities for Kenyans. This is how we started. And also because we have demand from foreign universities who approached us in order for them to come to Kenya. And there was a need to organize such an event because during this time, 2012, we had only a couple of events, one domestic event and one, I think, event organized by an agent, so there was a big gap. And obviously we had a demand and we organized that event in 2012. First of all in Kenya, and then later on, I think a year later, we also started to organize another leg in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam and Arusha. And recently, about 2 years ago, we also organized the first event in Ethiopia.
Okay. All right. And you've been doing this since 2012, as
yes,
you had mentioned.
Long time, yes.
Earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's going well?
It's going well. Obviously, with COVID, there was a bit of a, obviously, a fallback, but now we are back on track, I would say, yeah. And with this event, Study in Europe event, we hope that we will give this unique opportunity. First of all, I would like to say it will be an amazing, unique event, which, in my opinion, hasn't happened in Nairobi yet. So from Study in Europe delegation, we will have 37 universities from 9 countries. And on top of it, we will also have some Study World universities offering programs around the world. So it will be very unique because we will have countries we never had in Kenya before, such as Spain, Italy, I would say Romania, because Romanian universities visited Nairobi before, but not with such a big delegation. Sweden, so I would say, and also France. So we had some German universities coming, but it will also be a good representation of German universities. So I think that it's very, very unique in itself, also in what Study in Europe offers. As Henry mentioned before, you know, there are opportunities for full scholarships for students, Kenyan students, and we know that Kenyan students are very capable students. So yeah, we are very excited, basically. Come on the 5th of April to start it, yes.
Yeah, 5th of April, that's when the fair is happening.
Yes.
All right, I want us to get into the opportunities, you know, because I'm sure that is what most people would love to know about. As you mentioned, Kenya checks out graduates yearly in numbers, you know, and I'm sure that those who would love to get the opportunity to study abroad, but probably they just don't know where. And this is something that you do. I saw you had gone to the University of Nairobi sometime late last year, talking to final year students from the University of Nairobi, just on the opportunities and so on and so forth. So let's look at that. Speaking about scholarships, there are different kinds of scholarships, right? There are fully paid, there are partial ones, and maybe grants as well. Just take us through that process of one getting to apply to get a scholarship.
Well, thank you very much. And indeed, I'm going from university to university to give that talk, and my colleagues also. But what is very important, since COVID, everything has become online. So no student has to go anywhere to get the information. You can have everything at your fingertips. What Irina said, what is key is you have to know what you want and then do your research.
Yeah.
So, for example, most European universities nowadays have their entire study program online. You don't even have to leave Kenya to get a master's degree. And most of them offer it free of charge. So, but to get out, which is also a very unique experience, of course, we have the Erasmus Plus scholarships for master degrees. And that's really the best scholarship I know, because everything is paid for.
It's fully paid.
Fully.
Including accommodation and
Ticket,
everything.
accommodation, you get a stipend that is so generous that people are even sending money home. Once I met an alumni, she went even with her child. She maintained her small child while she was studying in Europe. So the only thing that students need to do is study, and study well. And for that you have to prepare, obviously, because you can apply online Erasmus Plus. You just Google it and you have it. You have all the master's programs, more than 300 to choose from. And mostly it's several universities working together. So let's say you want to become a medical doctor. You study 1 year in one country at one university, then you go to the next university, you get a joint degree. And the very best of it all, Erasmus Plus comes also with a 1 year work permit after you finish. So for those who want, they can get their feet wet in a professional context. And if they're good, given that in Europe we have tons of skilled job vacancies. I just read in a newspaper, at the moment we have 450,000 skilled vacancies.
450,000.
Yeah. So the companies, they are really looking for young talent. You see, Europe has an age pyramid that is inverted to the Kenyan. You have lots of young people and few old. And in Europe, it's the opposite. You have very few young and many old, which also creates a lot of opportunities in the care service. And that brings me actually to the other opportunities, because it's not only academic. We are also offering skilled jobs in nursing, in technological professions. So Germany and Austria signed a labor agreement, legal labor agreement with Kenya. And I just read this morning that they are graduating the third cohort of health professionals to go to Germany. Of course, in the German-speaking countries, if you work in the nursing sector, you have to speak some German. So several universities here are already offering that, and the students are studying that together with nursing and healthcare, and they are being sent to Germany and other German-speaking countries. So this is just to say that it's not only for academics, the opportunities, but those who come back from the master's degree, they all have brilliant careers here. So we have an alumni association. They are in all walks of life, but all of them made it big here. So it's really a unique experience, and I wish that many more could do it. And now, application period for this winter semester has already finished. So the entire application process is online, which also means nobody can interfere. So there's not a big politician that says, take my daughter or take my son. I don't know who's applying. I cannot interfere. Nobody can put pressure. It's just between you and the university, which also means you need to be good in what you're doing. You need to have good recommendations from your professors.
Because I'm sure the competition is quite, you know, stiff.
Yeah, but there are Erasmus opportunities reserved.
Okay. All right. So Erasmus Plus.
Erasmus Plus, yeah.
Program. For anyone who would love to go check it out, that's how they go,
and,
you know, search for it.
And then very soon the applications then will start for the following year.
All right. Okay. So for you, Irina, you know, you've been doing this, you know, since 2012, as you've just mentioned. Maybe just what are some of the courses that are on demand and how has that changed, you know, over the years?
Obviously, most of popular courses, I would say medicine, information technology as usual, cybersecurity, the new ones, engineering obviously, yeah. The new ones which been now quite popular is robotics, aeronautics, yeah, this kind of programs, yeah, courses.
All right. Let's talk about the visa requirements and the process. How does that look like for our student who wants to go study abroad? That's an education visa or student visa? Yeah, so let's talk about that. How does that look like?
Yeah. So for Erasmus Plus scholars, they have a guaranteed visa. So once they are admitted at the university, the member state where they go to study has to emit the visa. So of course you need your ID, passport, all your papers in order, but there's no problem with the visa. And sometimes the students, they apply very late. And then they are desperate, and I have to intervene with the ambassador of the country to get the visa accelerated. But there's no question that they will get it. So we always say, as soon as you got your scholarship, apply for the visa. But there are no problems. For people who don't have a scholarship, of course, they have to go through the regular process of student visas and all of that. And it has become quite cumbersome because all the visa offices of all the Western countries basically are completely overburdened and overloaded. So that's why we are always saying, please start as soon as possible so you're not getting into trouble later.
Okay. About the fair, Irina, so are there opportunities for bachelor's courses or just the master's courses? And also you can let us know who exactly is eligible to come for the fair.
Yes, so obviously there are both levels covered at the exhibition. We put an accent, we put a focus on postgraduate programs, but there are also offers on bachelor programs, so both levels. Who could come for postgraduate courses, of course, current students who already graduated from Kenyan universities, young professionals, as Henry said, mentioned before, and anyone obviously who may be now also employed and looking for a new career move. And for bachelors, obviously the bachelor program, it's a graduate of school. Obviously graduate year 13 for a British system, or obviously for a Kenyan school, graduate of a Kenyan school. They all can apply for a bachelor program and get the information at the fair.
So it's for
both levels.
Both levels.
Both levels.
All right. Just how conducive is the environment for African students in the European Union?
I think most universities have a program of diversity. So for them, it's very important in this globalized world to expose their students to an international and multicultural environment. This is why Erasmus now provides, because Erasmus is also inside the EU for European students. And nowadays, there's hardly any student in Europe who hasn't studied at least one semester abroad. Usually somewhere in the European Union, in a partner country, but it could be anywhere in the world. Many choose to go outside to expose them. And that is very, very important nowadays in your employability, that you have a broad horizon, you can manage different cultural contexts. So I do think that the universities have a very open kind of atmosphere, and people from different cultures are there. So, but it is a cultural adaptation. Even, for example, if you go to Germany, you don't have to speak German for the university. You have to adapt to understand when you go to a shop, you buy something, some simple greetings. That's why I think it's also better to go as a master, because there you're more mature as a person, more stable, and you can negotiate a foreign environment, because there's no student who doesn't suffer from a culture shock. That is normal. I was also a scholar at one point on a scholarship, and everybody goes through it, and you need the maturity to absorb that new context and to learn to live in that new context. And what we want is that the person going, the student, should not have any worries except academics. But of course, the outside environment is influencing how you feel. So all universities have student advisors, and they have special programs for international students to help them, to mentor them, and to look after them if they see that the individual student may be struggling. So they're not on their own. And we are also offering the alumni support network. So they're Erasmus alumni who look out after the others, but even people who go on their own will have the tutors at the universities to look after them.
And are there any exchange opportunities, like just the cultural exchange opportunities? Maybe are they there, such programs? Do we have?
Between Kenya and, So we have some other programs also, for example, university to university collaboration, where you can exchange groups of students and you can exchange professors, which is very interesting if you want to start a new area at the university here. You get specialized professors in, or you send professors out to get skilled. So we have a variety of different opportunities, and we're working already with some universities. And for me, what was very important is to go out to the counties, because it's always in the capital where people have most access to information. But that's not where the only potential is. So we are really trying to reach out to the big universities all over the country.
Okay. All right. Irina, maybe what would you say are some of the barriers or challenges that may hinder, one from accomplishing that dream of wanting to study abroad, wanting to go further their studies, outside the country and whatnot? So just the challenges that you would say students get to face when they are there, that you have gotten to witness, and just how to revert that.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I wanted to mention what just Henriette mentioned recently. Knowledge is the power. So do your research. As Harriet mentioned before, a lot of students are not aware of such opportunities and scholarship.
Sure.
That's number one obstacle, I would say. Second obstacle, I would say finances, probably, in a way, even though they will receive full scholarship. As we mentioned before, the students not aware of it, and there may be some obstacles whereby they may be afraid to take necessary steps in order to apply for the program. And I would say that maturity, as you mentioned, is also very, very important, because it's very daunting if they decide to move to another country which is completely different culturally wise. For instance, in Europe, they move from Kenya to Europe. They will have cultural shock. Not only if you're a student, you will have it even when I moved from my own experience, I can say, when I moved from the Netherlands to the UK, both countries are based in Europe. It was a big shock to me, which I wasn't aware of. Yes, so I think be very prepared, also morally, that it's going to be very different. As Harriet mentioned before, even if you're not planning to learn the language of the country and you're joining an English-speaking program, I would recommend learning the language, because it's an amazing opportunity when you have your education in the country. And even in the Netherlands, when I lived and everyone spoke perfect English, when you go to parties and you try to make friends, and you go to birthday parties, they all start speaking Dutch after some time, and we all know that. Yeah? And from this point of view, if you really want to meet people, to understand the culture, to make new friends, I would recommend to start learning. For instance, if they're thinking about going to Germany, start learning German. As you mentioned, there are some programs offered. I know of one which is probably on its own is Goethe Institute in Nairobi. It's I would say it's a perfect preparation for moving to Germany, or grasping a good knowledge of German.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, you'll just, I think it's like a no-brainer. If you go to a new country, you should at least try and learn the basics.
The basics,
just try and learn the basics. It's really...
But I would say it also would help you in future employment, definitely. If you speak German as an extra language, you already speak English, you already speak Kiswahili, it's amazing what kind of career you can lay out for you.
I actually had a question on that, so I'll still just throw it to you, just studying abroad, how does that enhance your career prospects?
It depends, obviously, on a program you study. Some programs, they're straightforward. For instance, medicine, it means that your career path is in the medical field. And obviously, when you go to the hospitals in Nairobi, such as Aga Khan, and you start speaking to doctors, a lot of doctors receive their education outside of Kenya. So obviously, it enhanced their careers. You said they went outside, they received very good education, and they came back to help Kenya, to help medical services in Kenya. So I would say it enhances your career big time.
For sure, I can imagine. Now, to you, Ambassador, maybe what are some of the frequently asked questions, excuse me, the frequently asked questions you get to receive maybe from the students as you go around trying to talk about these opportunities? What are some of those very frequently asked questions?
It's definitely the money and the visa. That are the key questions. These are the parameters that people worry about. And some of them also ask about the field of study, what is the best field of study to do, and the best field is the one that you love. I think if you love something, you excel in it.
That's true.
And if you just go into it because you think that's an opportunity, probably your heart is not in it. So these are the frequently asked questions, but I would just like to say, because I'm the European Union ambassador and we are speaking a lot about German and Germany, I have to just, otherwise the EU ambassadors will criticize me afterwards. So I have to say that, of course, we have the Alliance Française here for studying French. And you have excellent universities here, and they have already partnerships like Sciences Po in Paris with Nairobi University, etc. We have many others. We have the Italian Language Institute, we have the Portuguese, the Spanish. So, and
they're all available.
And nowadays you have the online learning. My sister is learning Spanish online. She does it 5 minutes every day. It's perfect and very easy when you're in the car or whatever. And then also I wanted to say, on top of the Erasmus scholarships, most of our member states have bilateral scholarship programs, like Hungary, for example. They're giving 200 scholarships to Hungarian universities every year, 200, only Hungary. But that is handled by the Ministry of Education. So they are doing that directly. But Germany has bilateral ones, France has bilateral ones, Spain, and so it's not all Erasmus. If you really look, you can find.
All right. We need to wind up the conversation, but even as we do that, I'd love for you to now speak to those who would love to come for the fair.
Thank you
Where
very
exactly
much.
is it happening? When is it happening? That's your camera?
Yes, so we welcome everyone to come and obviously learn more about study opportunities. Our event will happen on 5th of April at Sarit Expo Center, Chirangani Room, and we start from 10 o'clock till 5 o'clock. The entrance is free, completely free, and we look forward to meeting you. We will have an amazing day full of various activities, including direct presentations from the universities, more than 45 universities, as well as you will have an opportunity to speak directly to university representatives and also government bodies, such as Campus France, DOAD, Uni Italia, Study in Romania, Study in Hungary, Study in Sweden, etc. Thank
Many
you.
opportunities.
Yes.
Thank you so very much, ladies, for joining me for this conversation and for just shedding light on the opportunities that are out here for young Kenyans who have the zeal or the dream to go study abroad and just get to further their education so that they are able to have a bigger space, or a bigger opportunity to also just get to work anywhere else in the world. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
All right.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
is where we end this particular conversation and also get to wrap up Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so very much to each and every one of you who has been tuned in from the beginning, that is from around 6:30 a.m. till this moment. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Vivian Dagwa and I will be leaving you with the weather updates. Goodbye.